Here's everything you need to know about getting shredded. As you can see, we're in a new studio today. We're mixing it up. It's a bit different. I'm even stuttering my words a little bit. I'm nervous. It's a different scenario. So we're gonna kick straight in. We're gonna give you value. And these are things I wish I had a knew and would have made the process so much easier for me. And hopefully you get a ton of value from this, and we're gonna dive straight in. I remember the first time I did it was an absolute mess. All I done was eat the same meals morning, day and night, but I had this weird thing where I just wouldn't eat carbs. And I know now a lot of people disprove this, but you do cut carbohydrates when you diet. Like that is usually the main macronutrient or food group you cut. But the thing is, you end up being too scared of it. And most men diet too hard, too aggressive, and usually with inconsistency, and this leads to them losing muscle, hating their life. And in this video, we're gonna overcome all that, make it a lot easier, and you're gonna look a lot better, so it's hard to beat. Number one main thing I wanna go over is training during a dieting phase. This is where a lot of people mess up, including myself. I thought when you diet, you need to go to high reps, you need to do more sets, you need to do more, because that's gonna be better. Because in life, we always think more equals better, and it doesn't. With the gym, it's the exact opposite here. When you're dieting really hard, it's actually not the best time to push for more muscle. You're actually looking to preserve or gain a tiny bit. So the idea of slapping loads of extra sets in your movements is the worst thing you can do, because what this does is it creates extra fatigue, and week on week what you may notice is that you end up becoming weaker. And this is a sign that you can actually end up losing muscle because you're losing strength. Strength is what you're aiming for here, not a pump. So cut all this shit about 4 and 5 sets of movement. Doing bro splits, cut that all out and focus on doing what's actually going to get your result. Your training stays the exact same as it does in a gaining phase as it does in a cutting phase, because you're trying to retain strength. If you're losing strength, that's your main sign. So what we want to do is we want to train with normal push, pull, legs, upper, lower splits. If you're training 5 days a week, you can do upper, lower if you're training 4 days. And if you're doing 3 days, full body. But you don't change the reps, you don't change the sets, you don't change the rest times, just train as normal. I don't know why we do this thing where we just change up training. It's stupid as. On to the next. We're gonna go into nutrition. So for calories and macros for a dieting phase, this is so simple. I'm gonna give you like macros for dummies. I've done this with loads of clients and they can't believe how simple it is. All I want you to do is take your weight in pounds and times it by 14. So if you are 200 pounds, you times it by 14, your maintenance is probably around 2,800. All you do if you want to start dieting is take away 500 calories. So 2,300 calories is your dieting. All I want you to do is stick to that for 1 week. Don't be off on the Saturday having a couple of beers. You need 1 week of that. And what will happen to you is 3 things. You'll either gain weight, which means you're in a surplus, stay the same, you're in maintenance, or you've lost weight and you're in a deficit, right? That is how simple it is. And based off what happens, you can then adjust. So if you gained weight, you're in a surplus, drop 20% of your calories. If you're maintenance, drop 10%. That's the best thing you do. It just drops you in deficit. And if you're already losing weight, guess what you do, Junior? You just stay the same. It's not that complex, right? We're going to do macros now, and we're going to make this as easy as possible as well. So for every pound of body weight you are, I want you to have 1 gram of protein. So if you're 200 pounds, have 200 grams of protein. Next up, go to fats. This is going to be your hormones. It's going to be inflammation. It's going to help with your growth hormone release at night, testosterone. These are things you need. So protein first, fats come second, in my opinion. What I want you to do is take your body weight in pounds, 200, and just divide it by 4. That'll give you your fat grams. 50 grams of fat would roughly be the minimum I would have if I was 200 pounds. You can go higher if you want, but that's the minimum. Once you have your protein and your fat, you can fill the rest with carbs, fats, protein, whatever you want. So what I would do is I would fill it with as much carbs as possible whenever you have these extra calories. The reason being is carbohydrates, glucose, glycogen in the muscle, that's gonna help you bring the most intensity to your weight sessions so that you keep the strength as you diet instead of feeling fatigued. You'll notice a lot of people who do keto and just eat protein and fats don't get the same pump, they never have the same strength, and they don't build the same muscle, because carbohydrates are your main fuel source for high intensity exercise. So it's one of the best things you can do is fuel yourself with them. Now, a couple key mistakes I see with nutrition during a cut phase is just focusing on the macros and the calories. Micros are key. You're in a calorie deficit, not a micronutrient deficit. If you are just eating sugar, you're just hitting macros, and there's no actual like fruit, healthy fats like beef, salmon, eggs. We've got nut butters, avocado, dark chocolate. These are your gold standard fats. They're going to help you regulate that testosterone, your energy, your mood, your headspace. And you're going to notice even your joint health be better, rather than if you are having 50 grams of fat from bacon. Like, that makes no sense. Bacon's great, don't get me wrong, but micronutrient is one of the main things that people mess up on. Remember, calorie deficit, not micronutrient deficit. Really simple thing, but that's calories, macros, and even micros broke down for your ass. So you're going to get a result very easily with that. Next, we're going to go on to expenditure, which you see people mess up all the time. Your cardio and your steps. Number one biggest mistake I see is count them as two separate things. Yes, walking is exercise, but we just want to track the steps. And then cardio is anything probably above like 120 beats a minute, like a very light jog, Stairmaster, bike. And what I want you to do is do not do high intensity. You'll see people do high rocks, CrossFit. Look, that's all great. But if you're looking to preserve as much muscle as possible, maybe even build a bit, that high intensity exercise, what it's going to do, especially if it's cardio, is take all your carbs that you want for your weight sessions and use them on cardio. That is not what we want. It's going to fatigue you. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying this is from a perspective of looking the best way you can possible, because in reality, that doesn't preserve the most amount of muscle. You want to focus on doing LIS, which is low intensity, steady state. So if you look at it, usually somewhere around 120 beats to 140 beats, use your Apple Watch, or if you can't be arsed using something like that, is you should be able to just about hold a conversation. Like that's the best way to gauge that, in my opinion. So you're almost just struggling, okay? And we want to do that for a prolonged period of time. And I think ideally just starting with like 30 minutes on a rest day is loads. So you might do 5 gym sessions over the week and 2 30-minute blocks of cardio. And that's loads. And that's all you'll need. With steps, people will automatically give 10K steps. And I think this is great. The reason 10K steps is like idolized in the fitness industry is because most health benefits come in around that. Until you hit about 8K, you're actually classed as sedentary, like my main man, Joseph Yip, who doesn't move and hits about 3,000 steps a day. But you'll notice your mental health's better, your mood's better, everything from your hormones to your blood sugar levels, everything just stabilizes better, and you're able to actually stay lean even during a push if you keep steps in during a bulk. So what we want to do is usually aim for 10K, but if you have an office job, what I want you to do is just track your steps the first week. And then once you get a real good idea of where they are, just add like 2 or 3K on, and you'll be like, 2 or 3K. It's about 20 minutes over a day. But what you can do is when you're cooking dinner, whenever you are getting up in the morning, get up 10, 15 minutes earlier, walk for 5 minutes as a warm up and a cool down in the gym. Instead of sitting down and meeting a friend at the weekend for coffee, just go for a walk with the coffee. Just small little changes add up massively over time. And all you're looking to do is just have that being able to be adjusted, right? Now we're on to the phase where there's adjustments. This is the most important part. And this is what I probably got paid the most money for I've ever done, is with checking. And all it is simply adjusting. And this is so easy. And I'm going to teach you everything you need to know right now. What you want to do is track your food religiously so you know the exact calories, steps, cardio. That is all you need to do, along with photos, and you check that week on week. Now, what happens after 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, depending where you are, is you'll stop losing weight. Your body's adapting. If you were 200 pounds when you started dieting and now you're 190 or 180 pounds, your metabolism is no longer that of a 200 pound person because you are a smaller person. That's the reason why we have fat. It's a safety mechanism. Your body doesn't want to lose it. All you do is just pick either cardio, steps, or food and adjust. And if it's up to me, the one that will give you the most bang for your buck, but it sucks the most, is dropping food by about 10%. So if you're on 2,000 calories, you go to 1,800 and the fat loss magically happens. Now, as a safety net, every time I adjust food, I would recommend adding either like 1,500 steps or 30 minutes cardio, because there's nothing worse than adjusting food for a week and not seeing the movement on the scales or seeing it in photos, and you feel like you're slow again. You feel like you wasted a week dieting, which is such a head melt. I would rather work really hard and work that bit harder to ensure I see the scales, the photos move, than take it too slow, because I think going that little bit more aggressive is smart in my opinion, especially if it's your first couple dieting phases where you're getting really lean. And by really lean, I mean shredded, where you have abs, not just like this 12-week diet where like you're partying a couple of weekends, you weren't really dieting that hard. That's when you're at risk of losing muscle, is whenever you're shredded and you're messing about. These are probably the biggest mistakes we'll go over that I do see some people mess up as well. Number one is starting at way too low calories. If you start your dieting phase at like 1,500 calories as a meal, whenever your fat loss stalls, like I've just explained, where are you gonna go? Nowhere. So this is where it's really smart to make sure you have all the tools in your toolbox so that when fat loss stalls out, you have cardio to throw in, steps to throw in, you have maybe putting a weighted vest on whenever you're doing steps as well, that's a pro tip, or adjusting calories. All these small things that will just help speed up the fat loss again. But if you use everything and then you stall out, you are snookered. And you see this all the time with people that do these hardcore cleanses. They lose so much weight and it stalls out because their body regulates. The other thing that I see as a major mistake is not controlling your sleep or your stress. Now, yes, there's external stresses, But if you're highly stressed, your heart rate's going to be elevated, okay? And as a result of that, that impacts your ability to sleep, your weight sessions, your ability to keep muscle, and overall your fatigue just rises. So whenever you're highly stressed, a lot of people will go to food for comfort. So if you can reduce stress, or in any way actually try and find a way to mitigate it, whether it's meditation, whether it's making sure you journal, or whether it's just simply making sure every night you get 30 minutes to yourself to watch your favorite TV show, something that de-stresses you during a dieting phase will always pay off massively. And just why we touched on it, sleep. If you're not sleeping 7.5 hours out of every 24, you're actually not going to release enough growth hormone that you're going to recover. You're also going to notice your recovery from session to session goes off. And as a result, you're probably looking at losing some muscle. You're not going to diet as efficiently. And studies do show that testosterone drops as well. So there's so many things that go off from this. And you'll just notice your willpower go. Because if you're not sleeping well, you can't really be fucked doing steps, cardio, weights. It's just more likely that this messes up. Look, I've made all these mistakes where I was firefighting, I was going putting out houses, there's nothing I could do about it. But it's very tough to stick to diet whenever you're highly stressed or you're not sleeping the best. So all these things do have a knock-on effect. And if you can actually just keep the basics of this video, it makes it so simple that it's hard to fail. But the problem is most people overcomplicate it or get overwhelmed. But you just want to dumb it down to basics. Take all your emotion out of it the best you can and realize that if you get shredded, the reason you want to get that lean is not to impress the chicas. It's actually because you're looking to be lean enough that you can lean gain for like a year plus and enjoy your life, not worry about calories all the time. Like right now, I got shredded in March. It's now the end of July, 4 months later. I'm on 3,100 calories. I still have abs. I have a really good quality of life. And I will be like this until next March. I'll get a full 12 months out of this gaining. And that way fitness complements your life. And you're spending all your time in a surplus, enjoying your life, enjoying your food, doing low steps, low cardio. And it's a good life rather than like dieting wrong. And you end up in this eternal dieting phase. If you're doing more than 16 weeks dieting, you should either be a bodybuilder that's pro or you're an idiot and you need to rewatch this video again. Look, I'm not going to dive in anymore. That is a ton of value. That's all you need. If you like it as usual, please like, subscribe, share. I appreciate everything. If you need me, just drop me a DM on Instagram. I'm always there to help. Big love.